So yeah, this is the most exciting era of human history. Artificial intelligence is going to be a big step in your career, especially for those of you in the software industry. Not to mention the industry experience you'll get at Project Manus that is unmatched here in Manipal. I mean, we're going to experience the singularity in our own lifetime by 2040. How many of you know what the singularity is? The singularity is the point of time where artificial intelligence will overtake that of human intelligence. Yes, it's exciting, but it's also scary. Some of you are hoping it never happens, but I'm afraid it's inevitable. You don't do it, someone else will. And if you want to do it right, you should get it done yourself. And we cannot afford to get this wrong. You've probably seen enough sci fi movies to know what I'm talking about. So, what is artificial intelligence? Honestly speaking, the concept of artificial intelligence is very simple. It's basically the intelligence exhibited by machines or software. In fact, it isn't even new. It's been more than 50 years since it was founded, but it's only recently that computers have gotten fast enough for AI to become feasible again. And today, computers are starting to get better at tasks that we thought only humans are capable of, maybe even better. There are algorithms that are now better at detecting faces than humans, not to mention creativity, like music composition. It's a brave new world out there if you dare to join us. So that's artificial intelligence. What about artificial intelligence in MANAS? Right now, Project MANAS is building an autonomous car. And the AI of any autonomous car is composed of two parts, like yin and yang. One can't exist without the other, that we call the perception layer and the planning layer. In layman's terms, the planning layer receives the computer understandable information from the perception layer and then ponders about life's greatest mysteries. Well, not really, it does all the planning as the name suggests. So, what do I mean by planning anyway? The planning layer is the closest we get to consciousness in the whole operation, much like your own. It experiences what the perception layer perceives. What I'm trying to say is that the planning layer is something I can relate to the most because it comes closest to the world we live in from day to day. And that's where the fun part begins. Diving into the world of the planning layer. The part where I get to take you into a whole new world, the world of the planning layer. But first, we need to take a step out of this world. And it only works best with your eyes closed. So I need all of you to bear with me and close your eyes for this. And as the darkness creeps in, you need to imagine the world you take for granted creeping out. Now picture yourself in Karman Circle. It's all too familiar, except for one thing. We are in the planning layer, which means you have to put away everything you take for granted, meaning no color, no slide, and no sound. All of the notions of space and time go out the window. All there is numbers, numbers all around you. You've now entered the planning layer. So, what's it like working in this layer? For starters, we have to break down the very day-to-day object that we take for granted and put it together, piece by piece, in this layer. So space would mean a distribution of numbers in a matrix, their values representing obstacles. And time would mean an array of such matrices, stacked one on top of each other. So we listen to what the perception layer says and update the world accordingly. So now that we know where we are and what's around us, the thinking begins. It's a new kind of thinking. Thinking in this multidimensional world would mean summing up numbers in this multidimensional matrix to figure out the best path. So once we're happy with the best path, the time has come to make sure we get there safely. So we break down all this complex thinking into simple commands relevant to the real world, like trajectories, which further simplify to how much to turn the wheels and how much to accelerate the car. Our code is capable under the hood. Our code is capable of distributed computing, such that it's able to split its computational load across multiple PCs as needed. And because we can't test it on a real car every time we make a code change, we use simulators that recreate everything about the real world, from gravity, collisions, and friction, to joints, motors, and virtual sensors, which produce data indistinguishable from the real world. So where does the planning layer stand now? For that, we'll need to take a step back because I joined Project Manus about 4 months ago. And back then, the framework of the AI system was already in place, but the planning layer was almost non existent. But I'm proud to announce that as of today, the AI system has been able to put a mind into the car. From a car that could only perceive to a car that can actually build maps from what it perceives, plan paths, avoid obstacles, and generate motion commands. So I just point and click, and it somehow finds its way there. So that's where you come in. You see, our car is here, is almost here. Our planning layer has only been tested in our simulators, which is why I'm looking for people passionate enough in coding to be able to unleash the planning layer into the real world. So we invite you today to be on board the most exciting period of Project Manus.